Welcome to the Journeyman Cave, a podcast where we meet and chat with some of boxing's most seasoned road warriors, hosted by Mark Shakespeare and Chris Scarfe.
Welcome back to the Journeyman Cave, everybody. This is round 54. And with me, as always, Mr. Mark Shakespeare. How are we?
Yeah, good, mate, as always. Yourself?
Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad now. Not seen you for a couple of weeks.
You've been busy, though, mate, but a bit of normality back for you now. Well done on Barnsley Live, anyway.
Thank you, mate. I think it went all right. Who have we got this week?
We've got a bit of a cool customer today, mate. I'm looking forward to this one. We've got Mr. Lee Duncan coming in today. Very, very tricky fighter. Very good boxing skills. Journeyman, I wouldn't think so, because he got a few good wins in there. And at light heavyweight, we know it's hard up. You know, the higher weights go up, and he's been in with some cracking fighters with the likes of Rocky Fielding, Callum Johnson, Kenny Anderson. You know, some quality fighters, and he's got a few nice wins on that record as well. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, be good to hear about that. We'll not bore you. We'll get straight into it. But obviously, as always, if you enjoy the show, please give us a share to your mates or to your wider online community. Every bit of support helps, and we just keep this show going. So, with no further ado, let's get in Lee Duncan.
Right then, Lee. Finally, we've got you in, mate. It's taken some time, but I'm dead chuffed to meet you, mate. I really am. How's things going?
No, it's good. You know, first of all, thanks for having me down. It's good to be on your platform. I think it's great what you're doing. It's giving other people a voice, and that's the main thing. Let people share the story, and hopefully this inspires someone and someone can take a snippet of value from it and make their life better. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, and that exactly. I couldn't put it better myself, mate. Thanks for that, buddy. So what we up to these days, mate, then, after retiring?
Yeah, so, you know, I along fighting, I was also studying. So I was at university. I'd done my bachelor's degree, and I was actually finishing up at the back end of my career. I was actually injured. So at the time when I was injured, like I said, I always like to keep busy and keep my mind active, because I feel that once your mind goes, if you're not keeping active, it can drift off into all sorts of places that you don't want it to go. So I had an opportunity to go back. I fulfilled my master's degree, so I done that. And then I had a couple of projects coming up. And I'm actually on with a project now that I'm very passionate about. It's called Mindset University. So we bridge the gap between people that struggle with fear and insecurity, and we help them through mentorship overcome that to live a life that they actually want to live and not get held back by fear and insecurity. So that's one of my projects I'm working on.
Can I book in? Sounds perfect. You know, that sounds absolutely amazing, mate.
Yeah, it does. How did that come about then?
So going back, you know, when I was a young teenager, I was held back a lot in life because I had a lot of fear to do certain things, or there might have been a few insecurities there. And boxing was something that gave me a breath of fresh air, because as soon as I'd gone into the gym, you know, I connected with it straight away. I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And everything that came good of my life from that point was through boxing. Meeting Brendan, I always remember meeting Brendan for the first time when I walked into the boxing club. The first thing he said to me was, "Smile." And I'm looking around thinking, is anybody looking? But everybody just gets on with their own thing anyway. He said, you know, why do you want to box? And I said, well, it just feels right. I love what I see. And he says, well, it's a game where you can get seriously hurt or worse, legally killed. Do you still want to do it? I said, definitely. I just knew it was for me. So it all stemmed from there. Started going down to the gym. I was in and out of school at that point, and Brendan said, look, if you come down to the gym, then you've got to do me a deal. You've got to finish school out. You know, don't skip school anymore. Make sure you go, make sure you attend. So I did. I saw school out, just sort of scraped through, left with sort of one GCSE, and never looked back. Yeah. So that's how it started.
It's not defined you though, mate, has it? You're doing so well with yourself now. You should be proud of what you're doing, mate. You really should. And for Brendan to take you on like that, he must have thought something about you as well, mate, because, you know, you had to go through the old Rainbow song, didn't you, and stuff, and dancing in the ropes before you even got anywhere near that, weren't you?
Not an easy gig, not an easy gig at all, because every day I walked into the gym, I was challenged. I was challenged with my own demons in my head. getting over fear, getting over insecurity, building myself back up from the inside out, because I just wanted to become a professional boxer. That's what I wanted to be. So I knew what I wanted to do. Like I said before, when I was in school, there was a lot of fear around me actually doing it, and it was the doing part that I wasn't doing. So as soon as I was in the gym, I said, look, I've got a chance here. I'm going to take my chance and I'm going to use it to build myself up. And that's what I did. And it built character, it built confidence, it built inspiration. I had good role models. Johnny Nelson was around me, Kell Brook, various other fighters, Junior Witter, and a lot of champions at the time. So the gym was pretty much thriving as well. So I was around the right people, and it was great going in every day, hard slog. And yeah, that's what it was about. I felt good, felt right.
Yeah, some hard sparring in there, mate.
I did. Every day was hard. At first, you get your ass kicked quite a bit because you're learning the ropes. But it was good because the way Brendan did it was he allowed you to develop. So there was a lot of body sparring in our gym because, as you know, you're getting hit to the head all the time. It doesn't do anybody any good in the long term. So there was a lot of body sparring until you develop to then do your open sparring. And I was sparring with first time I'd sparred Johnny Nelson after, I was in there about a year and a half, and I thought I was pretty decent because I was going every day. I got good pretty quick. And I remember the first time sparring Johnny Nelson, actually. And I was in there and Brendan was like, I want you to spar Johnny today. I thought, okay. And I was sparring Johnny. And then I realised that there's levels to boxing. And Johnny was world champion, obviously, for 8 years, something like that, undefeated. So, yeah, that's when I realised there was levels to boxing.
So were you the toughest spar you had then, do you think, mate?
Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He was very good. Made me make mistakes. I was... One of my greatest assets in boxing was the ability to not be hit, right? So I was very good at the pullback. I could pull back on pretty much anybody's jab. I timed it pretty perfect. Johnny was the only person I couldn't really do that with. And I just remember thinking you're out of distance, for example, and he'd catch you, or he'd make you make mistakes. He just had that experience, and he knew what he was doing. But to be world champion, like I said, for 7 years, you undefeated, you're onto something, aren't you? So, yeah.
Well, we're not going to put him on blacklist then. We shouldn't be bullying my mate Lee Duncan. There's no need for that.
You'll have to get him down for a little interview with yourselves at some point. He's got plenty of good stories.
I might see him at Callum Johnson fight. I'll be going I'll see him there.
Yeah.
So when you started off then, mate, in pros, did you have any goals to start off with?
Yeah.
Did you want to be a winner?
Yeah, world champion. That was my goal, because I think if you go into boxing and you have anything less than that, it's not a good idea. So, at first my goal was to be a professional boxer. At school, that's what I wanted to be. When I got into boxing and I started boxing amateur, I was like, hey, I want to be a world champion. That's the goal I'm going to set, because that's the bar that I want to set for myself. Because I thought if you aim low and you fall under that bar, it's going to be lower than what you've set. So I want to aim high, and as high as I can, and that's why I was in it.
Brilliant, mate. So obviously, your first fight you had, mate, I've been messaging it. I'm quite messaged Kieran Gray quite a lot.
All right, okay.
Yeah, he's a big journeyman, isn't he? I think every other week or two he'd be, when's Lee coming down? When's Lee coming down? But I kept asking to give you a question, but he never gave me a question.
Right.
He just said it were two hungry fighters on the debut who both really wanted to win.
Yeah.
So would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely, yeah, it was.
That's all he said. He says, and passed on the best, and he says, it's great, he's looking forward to hearing this interview, mate. Yeah,
and I think Kieran, he actually went undefeated for quite a few fights, didn't he? Because I remember he went on and he'd done quite well, because I'd followed his journey for a bit, because I was actually looking for a potential rematch down the line, which never came about for some reason. But yeah, that's all it was. It was two hungry fighters making their debut, and yeah, the best man won on the night.
You think he got the win? You think he deserved it on the night, mate? Or
I mean, I'd set a high pace from the offset.
Yes.
And I think just as I was sort of getting into it, I was having a breather, and I feel the ref jumped in. I wasn't hurt. I didn't get stung with anything. I was just gassing a bit. But as an athlete, you are going to gas. It's about controlling your breath and gaining that breath and that second wind. And I think for that third round, when I did take my foot off the gas and he was pressing forward, I wasn't getting hit with anything. I wasn't really getting caught, and the ref just stopped it. And I thought, a little bit disappointed, but hey, let's pick up and go from where we left off.
Well, it never defines you, mate, does it? Because, like you said, I looked at your record and, like I said, 17 fights, 6 wins, 9 losses and 2 draws, mate. Yeah. And as we go through this interview, some top fighters on here, you should be very proud to share the ring with, mate. I'm looking forward to talking about them.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm sure Kieran's glad we're going to mention there, mate, and you've been looking forward to this interview.
Pass my regards on to him, yeah. I hope he's well.
Well, I'm sure he'll be listening to this, mate. He will be. And he'll get back to me.
You weren't too deflated after that first loss then?
No.
Didn't knock you at all?
No. After, I was a little bit pissed off with myself, and I remember being in the dressing room, and I was, at the time, obviously, I'd sold a load of tickets. All my family was there. It was a big event. It was on the undercard of Carl Froch and someone, and it was on Junior Witter defending his world title against Timothy Bradley. That was my first fight in Nottingham Ice Arena.
Yeah.
Quite a big setup. So I was pretty pissed off at the time, and I remember being sat in the changing room feeling sorry for myself, and Brendan says, "What are you doing? Get up, stop feeling sorry for yourself, get out and watch the rest of the boxing." So he didn't give me time to let it set in, and as we was going on that night, he says, "Right, come to the gym tomorrow, I want to speak to you." So I got to the gym the next day, and he was like, "Look," showed me Johnny Nelson's record. He says, "Johnny lost his first three fights." So that kind of gave me a bit of inspiration. I thought, yeah, you know what, I'm good to go, let's go again.
Yeah, and you did go after that, didn't you, mate, as well?
Yeah, I did.
Quinton Hillocks, well, the next one, mate.
Big strong kid.
Yeah.
I do. I remember Quinton very well because we boxed each other twice in the amateurs as well. So from boxing each other twice in the amateurs, he got the first win, I got the second win, and then we boxed each other in the pros. And I'd say he might have nicked it, but I think it was very, very close. And he was in trouble in that 4th round. It was just a shame. It was only a 4-rounder.
6th round could have been a completely different story, you think?
Absolutely.
But like you said, mate, that says big, strong guy, wasn't he? And after that, our mate Carl Whittam, mate, said we had to mention.
Yes, yeah. Carl Whittam, I boxed him in the amateurs.
He said you're a little bastard, he said. Even though you're not, in a great way, in a good way, he says.
In a good way, I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah, it was definitely a compliment, mate, believe me, it was.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, back then, there were a bit of sting behind it because we'd boxed twice in the amateurs. So the first fight, I think I got disqualified in that fight for holding, actually, because I was just trying to.
You got a draw on that fight, mate, didn't you?
No, as an amateur.
An amateur, right? I was going to say.
So we boxed each other twice in the we boxed each other in the amateurs and then twice in the pros.
You said he'd done you 3 times. We had to go.
3 times. So the first one, I'd say he was edging it as an amateur, but as an amateur, it's the amateurs, isn't it? It could go either way. As a pro, we called for the fight, and we was boxing in Sheffield. It was on his show, Dennis Hobson's show, and I got offered the fight. I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And we both wanted to fight each other anyway to sort of settle the score.
Yeah, he said that as well. He said it were a bit of both.
Yeah,
we both wanted each other.
Don't forget, the first one was a disqualification, the amateurs, and then we got to the pros, and we said, yeah, let's go. It was my 3rd fight, like you said. Yeah, I feel, and maybe he doesn't agree with this. I listened to his interview, and I believe I won. For the whole sole purpose, I got a draw, and not only that, I had everybody coming up to me after the fight saying, you nicked that, you got that. I feel that there's a big jump between the amateurs and pros. I was a lot more suited to the pros. Carl was a very good amateur. And I think as an amateur, he was probably a level above as an amateur. But again, the pros is a totally different ball game, just from making weight to the rounds and everything else. And we actually did a 6-2s. It wasn't a 6-3s. So the rounds were quite short. Anyway, we boxed. Again, I believe I edged that. And then we went on to do our own thing. And I was sort of happy that, in my eyes, I got the win.
Yeah.
Even though they did, announce it as a draw. And then down the line, I think he wanted to settle the score again because he wasn't obviously happy with it.
He did say that on the interview, didn't he?
Yes.
He said he wanted it.
And I remember him, we saw each other in the lounge area after the fight, and, we shook hands and we had a chat, and then he says, let's settle the score. And I said, let's settle the score, yeah. If you're not happy with it, we'll go again. I didn't know when it was going to happen. Anyway, they come on to us for the fight again. We said, yeah, and then I think it got postponed. But in that time, I'd actually boxed twice, which you can probably see now, and had a couple of good wins.
2 very good wins, mate, I've got down here. I think you were Daniel Cadman's kryptonite, weren't you?
I think I was.
Twice want it, mate.
Yeah, box Danny Cadman down in Essex it was, and beat Cadman as an underdog. Cadman was good fighter. Beat Cadman, and then I boxed a kid called Joe Smythe who was unbeaten with 3 knockouts.
6-0, yeah.
6-0, 3 knockouts, knocked out 50% of his opponents. Dangerous kid. Boxed him down in London. That was...
So you've had 2 great travels there, mate, as well. You know, you've gone against all the odds in both of them fights, haven't you, really? To go travel all the way down there.
Exactly.
And to do that.
Yeah.
Just like I said, when he fought Cadman first time, he was 11-3.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a decent record in itself, isn't it? He's no numpty.
Yeah.
So I put here straight away, I'm not very good with my handwriting, but I put 2 cracking wins. Yeah. And I think they were good wins.
They were very, very good wins. So I'd been active, I'd been busy. So it was sort of like I was active in between, and then that fight, they came on to us. We accepted the fight, and then I think it got moved dates. I think they moved the dates again. So I was sort of at my peak in regards of fights because I'd boxed twice, and then I'd had this as another date, and it was sort of keep the momentum going. Got to the fight, boxed Kyle, and he edged it. He edged it that night, and he got the win. And I think he was deserving of the win because he boxed quite well from sort of the 3rd round onwards.
When we had him in this exact same studio, Lee, and I'd take great credit from this, and you could tell when he was speaking about that, when it meant a lot to him, and he wanted that. So he proved in the first fight what he had done to him as well, mate. And it seemed like a very friendly rivalry. And I liked to be around at that time, to be honest. I mean, it was quite a bit of... I mean, there wouldn't have been social media around at that time either, would there?
No, it was just Facebook.
Yeah, I can imagine... You go back to now, if that had been going with you two and your mates and his mates, that would have been a nice seller, that, mate.
Yeah, it'd have been a bigger build-up, obviously.
Would have been.
But yeah, it was good because on a local scale, it was because everyone was saying, oh, you're fighting Kyle, and yeah, you guys have boxed each other before, and it was good. There was a bit of conversation around it, so it was a bit of excitement for Sheffield. We boxed at the Sheffield City Hall, so nice little venue. So yeah.
Yeah, look, I want to go back to... I don't want to just skim over Daniel Cadman, mate. I mean,
Right.
I'll have a quick chat about that because you beat him twice, so it wasn't a fluke, was it?
No.
Would that be your best win, would you say?
My best win? No, I'd say...
I think I know what I think your best win will be, but I just wanted to check with that because I thought because you were beating him twice. So what your best win then? I
just knew that I believe that I could beat everybody that I got in the ring with, but I just knew I could beat him. Like I just knew I had the beating of him, because he was a come forward fighter, busy, throwed a lot. That was made for me. As you know, I'm a defensive fighter. I'm a mover. So he more or less set himself up. So I just found that I could get into my momentum and my rhythm very, very quickly and very, very easily with Daniel Cadman.
For your weight as well, you were. For how slick you were.
Yeah.
I bet there weren't many around like you, mate.
They weren't. And that's one thing I had envisioned in my head. I always wanted to be a great mover. From watching the style of fighters that I grew up on, sort of Muhammad Ali. My granddad was a massive fan of Ali as well, Ray Leonard, these kind of guys, Roy Jones. So that was sort of the style that, I adopted was hit, not get hit, counter puncher and mover. So, yeah.
Brilliant, mate. So, in the second fight with Cadman, then, was it similar? No change? Had you learnt or...?
It was a 10, yeah. So it was a 10
on it, yeah.
10-3. Yeah. So what they thought was, in the first fight, they thought, he can't keep that pace up. But Dom Ingle said to me, he said, look, for your style, you've got to be fit. And as soon as Dom Ingle said that, and from the first fight with Kieran Gray, when I gassed in the third, I thought, I'm not making that mistake again. So, I made sure my fitness was peak. In the gym, I always used to practice my movement. So I know I could do 12 rounds, moving and hitting. So then Cadman, they actually brought it to me, the second fight for the title fight.
I thought they'd come. Yeah, I thought they would.
Did. Even after the fight, they said, we thought you'd slow down in the later rounds, but I didn't because I trained really well for it. So I just found the second fight probably easier than the first. And it was no disrespect to Daniel Cadman. He's a good fighter. I mean, he went on to box Robin Reed. He boxed a few other kids and beat him. But I just feel that he was made for me. Just come forward fighter and my cup of tea, really. Yeah,
and like you said, Dominic's right. You don't move like you do, mate, if you're not fit.
Yeah, he had to be fit for my style. And, Dom always sort of reiterated that and said, you've got to be fit. For your style of boxing, you're on the move, you're accountable, you've got to be fit.
So again, I don't just want to scrape over it, mate. I want a quick chat about it. Like I said, we just touched on it a few minutes ago. Like you said, Joe Smith, mate.
Yeah, dangerous.
Going down London there as well, mate. What are you, a good fighter? Could he bang?
Yeah, he could.
You feel it?
Yeah, he could bang. Strong fighter, ferocious, come forward, aggressive, explosive, and game. You know.
Did he come to get you out of there? Do you think?
Yeah, he was trying to take me out of there. You know, he was throwing bombs. But again, I just felt that fighters like that were just made for me in a way, because I could just see it coming. I could just sort of read. One thing about a boxer, boxers are very good at reading body language anyway. So you can more or less analyze someone through their body language, because it's the nature of what you do, right? So you've got to be able to predict and anticipate what your opponent's going to do, even before they do it or they think about doing it. Floyd Mayweather's a master of that, obviously. So I just knew what he was going to do. You know, I could just tell with his demeanor, his body language. I could actually hear him from the dressing room. I could hear him smashing the pads down the hallway. So I thought, this guy's a banger. He's going to come out banging, and he's going to try and take me out as fast as he can. So just be on the ball with it. And Dominic said that anyway, because he'd done my corner that night. Dominic's like, look, this kid's going to come out and he's going to start throwing bombs to try and get you out of there. So, you know, just be on the ball. This is what I want you to do. And he coached me through it.
Yeah, so I wonder if you're meant to hit them pads on purpose, so you did hear it, mate.
Probably, yeah.
We've had stories before on this show.
We have. I'm going to bring that
from
up.
the dressing room.
Right.
Steve Spence, what latest one? His trainer used to smack it against, it smacked something against the pad, so it sounded really hard.
Right.
And they thought you were actually,
like that.
and they thought you were actually sparring, thinking, fucking hell, this guy can hit. I can hit him from
Really?
right corner.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
actually, we're just his trainer going like that on the pad. You know what I mean? And it sounded like venom.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were like, he said it used to put doubt in the mind at times. Say, fucking hell, I can hit him from down. He must have some bang on him. And really, it was just like something smacking on the pad, and he like, and Steve, they just sat there like that.
That's the thing. And I knew that, because I'd often seen fighters, if fighters plant their feet, that's where you generate the power. Because if your feet are right and you plant your feet, you set your feet, you can let your power go. That's what. But not a lot of fighters can actually throw power on the move. So part of my way of dealing and nullifying someone's power was moving and not letting them set their feet. Because if you let someone set their feet, then obviously they can generate the power that they're used to. But if I'm moving, they're not going to be able to plant their feet.
Well, I've pictured this fighter before I've entered in, Lee, and you're just summing up exactly how I thought you are in the ring, mate. You know what I mean? Everything, it's just perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A slick fight. It's a shame there are not many more fights on YouTube here, mate, to be quite honest. But
Yeah, that's a shame.
yeah, but I want to also mention another good result for you, mate. After that, with Tobias Webb,
Yes.
we a draw.
Yeah.
Fill us in on that fight. What it deserved draw? Do you think you nicked it or what?
That was over in Liverpool, I believe, at the Echo Arena. So that was under, I think that's when Kell Brook boxed Bienes. And I think Tony Bellew boxed on that bill as well. It was a big, big bill. Yeah, so Tobias Webb, I think I beat him pretty comfortably. I beat him to the point where I was literally making him miss, and I thought I was that far ahead. I wasn't even countering him when he sort of tangled himself in the rope. I'd walk off and I'd smile. Not to sort of belittle my opponent, just to emphasise to the judges that, look, I'm winning this comfortably. Like, you know, it was an easy fight. Like, I think I won it comfortably.
Because a bit of hype around Tobias, wasn't there, at one time? You know, they thought he was going to be quite well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, a unit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was a big lad. Yeah, could fight a bit, but I just feel that, what was it? Was it my 8th fight, something? Was it 8th or 9th fight?
Yep.
How many had he had at the time?
I can't remember exactly, but you know what I mean. He had
4
a
or
fair
5.
few. He won't like coming out. He had a 3 or 4. He had a fair few. He actually won, oh baby.
I just felt that when I was in there, I just felt way more experienced than him, and I think that was the difference. But yeah, a good fighter. He went on to box Callum Smith and these guys, and he'd done well. But yeah, I just felt a lot more experienced than him in there.
Yeah. So again, mate, don't go any easier for you, mate, do they? You know what I mean?
No.
Rocky Fielding. How did that come about?
Yeah, Rocky Fielding boxed Rocky Fielding.
Didn't get you out of there though, did he?
No, over in Liverpool. I'll tell you why. Because I boxed Rocky. It was nip and tuck for the first couple of rounds, you know, because he was a boxer, and I was beating him to the punch, and I was countering him quite a lot, and you know, he'd throw a few bombs, and he might sort of tag me here and there, and whatever. But again, I threw the kitchen sink at him pretty much, and I gave him sort of hell for leather in the fact that it wasn't an easy night for him. It wasn't an easy night for me. And I remember in the 6th round, I hit him and I had him hurt on the ropes.
In his own town, his own city as well.
Yeah. And I think there was about 20 seconds left. And, I was sort of trying to, tag him away. And I just felt there wasn't any substance behind my shots. And there wasn't any, I don't know, there wasn't much sort of oomph behind my shots or what I was trying to do. And then afterwards, I remember a couple of days after, I was in bed with a bloody flu. So I think the flu had been lurking beforehand, and that was one of the reasons why it sort of affected me in the fight. But yeah, good fight, and he got the win in the end, and that's all that matters, isn't it?
To go and do that in his own backyard, though, mate. Again, said it again. Should be very proud of yourself, mate. Definitely, good fight to go in with. And then obviously you went and win another win here, mate, with Ty Mitchell, didn't you?
Yes, Ty Mitchell. So this is one that I like talking about because
I'm glad. I like a good win story.
I've been asked about this a few times. So I've just got back from a run one Thursday night, and my manager rings me up and he goes, they've asked for you. Ty Mitchell wants to box you. His dad's promoting the show. And I was like, when? And he's like, it's on Sunday. It was on like a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, this show. And it was in Derby. And it was, what's his dad's name? Clifton. Is it Clifton Mitchell? Clifton Mitchell. It was his show. So I'm thinking, well, they've already got a couple of rounds on me regardless. If his dad's promoting the show, that's his son. I'm boxing his son. I'm already 2 rounds behind. So yeah, I said to John on the fight, I said, I'll take the fight. And this was a Thursday night I got offered the fight, by the way. So I was boxing on the Sunday. And I'd literally just got home from a run that night. So yeah, took the fight, went out to Derby Sunday afternoon. I had a few friends who come down to watch and got in. Yeah, good boxer, sharp, very sharp kid, could box very well. And again, I just felt that I had the beating of him because I was sharp. I was also a good counter puncher. The first couple of rounds was sort of close because we were both, weighing each other up and trying to counter each other. And I think the third and fourth round, I switched it up a bit. I just started going forward and been a little bit more explosive because Dominic says, just take it to him a little bit. So I just sort of put the pressure on him and got the win.
Did you expect to get your hand raised?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You did?
I knew I beat him, yeah.
Did you beat him?
In the fact that I knew I beat him, but then in the back of my mind, just with it being their show, and you know what? That was a win that I was proud of because I took it at a day's notice.
Are we taking that as your best win then?
For the fact that I took it at a day's notice? Probably, yeah. Because
so you do everything there. You couldn't get any more against you, could you?
No.
You've taken this 3 or 4 days before it's meant to be happening.
Yeah.
You've gone into his own backyard and his dad's promoting the show. And you've come away with a win on points.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to get Scarfe on this and see if that's ever happened because that's got to be a first. It's got to be, mate. That is absolute peach.
Yeah, it was.
That is an absolute peach to win.
But again, I knew that I had to do something different. So like rather than just make someone miss, I thought, right, how can I capitalize on everything? So even when he was throwing a jab and I was parrying the jab, I was countering him. Or when I'd make him miss, I'd make sure I hit him so that it was just emphasizing the point that, he's edging it. Because you never know. And like you said, that's the first.
It's got to be. I mean, I can't think of, you can't get any more odds against you,
no, you
to
can't.
be quite honest, at any level of fighting.
Yeah.
So well done for that, mate.
Well, Mark, you've just made me realise by saying that, that is your best win, actually. So I think we can call that my best win.
You know what? I didn't have that down as your best win, but it is now. Definitely. We'll come to the other one in a bit, mate. But,
all right.
So you're on top of the world after a great win after that, mate. You must have been buzzing. You must have been feeling good. So you decided to go with Callum Johnson.
Yeah.
This is a guy I've heard who can really, really hurt. Really, really bang. What do you reckon? Come on, fill me in.
Strong, tough, game. He could bang. He had a good amateur pedigree career as well. Was he Commonwealth champion?
British and Commonwealth, yeah.
Yeah, so Commonwealth champion in the amateurs, Commonwealth Games champion. So, got offered the fight with Callum Johnson. It was on a Frank Warren show. Yeah, took the fight.
Nice payday?
Not bad, but
not bad, but not
remember.
Great.
Can't remember. I was over at the Hilton Hotel to weighed in, and then Frank Warren's team came over to me and said, "Oh no, you need to get off. You need to take another £1.50 off of £2 or something." I was like, "Really?" So anyway, there was a bit of commotion about that, and then I had to go over the road on the docks, go back to the hotel, bath some more weight off. I had 2 hours to make it.
The hot bath.
Hot bath, yeah, horrible.
It's the one go cause that always gets mentioned to us.
Yeah, horrible. Bathed off a couple more pounds, came back over, weighed in again, managed to weigh in, and then the fight was on. I was boxing. I was under the assumption that it was a 6-rounder, which we got told we were boxing 6 rounds. And then during the fight, they come over and said the last round coming up, which was only 4 rounds. So I was a little bit confused in regards to, I presume we was boxing 6, and then it got cut to 4. So, and I feel during those 4 rounds, the way he was, I was moving around quite a bit, and I feel that he couldn't really do anything with me as such. He was strong fella, built, got muscles on, carved out of stone. But yeah, I weren't in any trouble. I weren't really, hurt or anything at the time. And I just feel that maybe if it had gone on longer, who knows? But yeah, very good fighter.
Yeah, brilliant sharing, mate. But you just said that about Callum Johnson there. You thought it was 6 until you were actually in the ring. Well, it's not the first time I've heard that story, because we've got a Barnes heavyweight round here called Neil Kirkwood back in the day.
Yeah.
And he was fighting Julius Francis at the time. And the winner was going to go on to fight Tyson. And Neil Kirkwood thought it was for a certain amount of rounds, and he were up on the scorecards and he were gassing it. And he went back, I don't know if it was 10-rounder or an 8-rounder, he thought it was, I can't remember. I'm sorry about that, Neil, but he did film it. And he went back to his corner cheering, thinking, we've done this, I'm knackered, but I've done it. And the ref company goes, oh no, there's another couple of rounds yet. And he says, he went out in that last round, he says he just knocked me out. He says, but he didn't know in the ring until then himself. He thought it was shorter rounds than it was. And he just put it all into them rounds and then realised he had a bit longer to do. Like, oh, I'm nothing. And Francis knocked him out, and then his next fight were against Tyson. So
was it?
That could have been could have been Neil, couldn't it?
Yeah.
He said he read on points, but we're getting Neil on the show, so he'll fill us in on that. I'm sure he'll clarify that. But you're not the first person who said that it's when they're in the ring. So you're not on your own there, mate.
Yeah.
And then, no offence to the guy, I used to enjoy watching him.
Yeah.
I thought he was a character for the sport, but nobody had a good word to say about him yet. You lost again. Kenny Anderson knocked you out.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Put me down.
I've heard he kicks like a mule. I've heard he's a nasty piece of work. Not in nasty piece of work in himself. I mean, about when he gets in your face, he's an animal.
Yeah.
And not many people have a nice thing to say about him.
All right.
What can you say about him?
Kenny, respectful before the fight, respectful. At the weigh-in, he didn't really find anything negative about him. I knew he was a good kid, even,
And he was a good kid,
Yeah, even in the gym, when Dom says, this fight's, they've asked for you, do you want to take it? And I said, yeah, I'll take it. And that was me. I've just got plenty of courage, man, with anything. It's like, there's something in me. I'll fight till death. Like, I know that, and again, maybe that is people's downfall at times, that you've got too much courage. But that's one thing Brendan always said about me. He said, you've got a lot of courage. You've got a lot of courage.
Your mindset's amazing just by speaking to you, mate.
Yeah. Thank you. And I wanted that fight, and I was up for it. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is a big fight, because me beating Kenny Anderson puts me on the radar big time. And crazy enough, I believed I could beat him. At the time, I think I was like 22, 23, something like that. I know Kenny was very experienced. I mean, he'd had George Groves down a couple of times. So I knew it wasn't a pushover. I knew it wasn't a joke. And I knew that it was a step up in class. Anyway, went to Scotland. We were up there. I went up there, I think it was, me and Dom again. I think Dom did a lot of my fights back then. But we stayed over, we weighed in. And then on the night of the fight, felt good, felt ready, and I was moving, and I was actually doing a number on him, and I was coming back to the corner, and I just remember Dom there, and it was an intense fight. And I remember Dom saying, do this, just don't sit on the ropes, don't sit. When you go back, as soon as you feel the rope, I want you to move off, spin off. Don't stand there with this kid. And I was boxing his head off. I was doing a number, and I thought it'd be a lot harder than this. But I could feel how strong he was. And
everyone says that.
He was strong,
Everybody
man.
says.
He was tough. Like, I was hitting him with everything. Like, even as he was coming forward, I was throwing spiteful shots, and I was hitting him, and I started busting him up a little bit. He started cutting, and I thought, right, I just need to keep this up. That's all I need to do. And I started feeling the pace a bit. I think it was the 4th round. I remember just sat on the ropes, and I thought, I need to just, take a bit of a breather, because we've got another 4 or 5 rounds left. So I've sort of tried to hold him, and I'm catching my breath, and then, the referee's broke us again. The referee's like, stop holding. I'm getting a little bit tired because I've been busy because I knew I had to be busy for this kid. I had to bust him up because this guy was coming forward a lot.
So he knew one way, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He only knew one way.
Yeah, he was just coming forward, man, and he was throwing bombs, and he was strong, and he could box a bit. He knew what he was doing. And I remember I was on the ropes, and then he was letting his shots off a bit, and I thought, let me just sort of see what he's like. And I could hear Dominic saying, move. And then I remember him just tagging me a little bit, and I'm moving around. And then next minute, I just remember going to the ropes, and then bang. I'd never been put down in my life. I just remember just sort of being on one knee, and the ref just counting. And I'm on one knee, and for a second, I'm like, has he put me down? And then I can just hear one, and the crowd's just roaring. Like, I can just hear this massive roar, and the crowd just echoey roar. I'm a little bit dizzy, and I'm like, has he put me down? And I just didn't know where I was. And then I just seen the ref in my face, and I saw sort of Kenny Anderson walking past with his arm raised. And I was like, they've stopped it. So yeah, got put down, and I don't think I'd have been right within 10 seconds anyway. I think I was pretty hurt. But I was on one knee, so I had my senses, but I just didn't know what was happening.
You summed up what everyone else says, that he does it hard. But it's nice to know it's a nice compliment there, because I've had a few fighters who've fought him and he's been an absolute kid. But I don't think that's him out of the ring.
Yeah.
I just think that's him, that's him how he gets up for his fights, and he has to get into people's faces. And I can imagine he's a great guy. You know what I mean?
Pressure does that with people. And not only that, pressure also affects people before the fight. So like making the weight, like people who might struggle to make the weight because they've eaten something, they're doing that out of stress or pressure. It's not just a random thing. It's because pressure gets to people and affects people in different ways. Like Naz used to deal with pressure by, dancing and whatever he did. Other people dealt with pressure a little bit better, like maybe a bit quieter or didn't say anything. Other fighters deal with pressure by getting in your face. Everybody's different.
It most certainly is, mate. But yeah, two great fighters to be in with there, mate. And I know we've backtracked, and I've said that your best win is now, obviously, Mitchell. I put down here your best win, Tommy Tatham at the time, mate.
Tommy Tatham. Oh, yeah. Blackpool, I think that was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy.
He was no mug, mate.
He wasn't. But again, I just no disrespect to him. Love all my opponents I've been in the ring with, because, I think they've all been decent to some degree, and I hope they're all doing well for themselves. But, in boxing language, and we know I'm very passionate about my boxing. I always have been. But I just didn't feel that. I just felt a lot more experienced than the kid. I'm not saying he was a bad boxer. I'm not saying he was no good. I just felt a lot more experienced. I just felt in control. I just knew what he was going to do. Yeah, and it was a pretty easy win for me, that.
Because he stopped Carl Wilde, didn't he, as well?
Yes, he did, yeah. Carl Wilde was tough. I'm surprised I never actually boxed Carl Wilde, though.
Good point, actually.
I'm surprised I never boxed him. But yeah, Tommy Tatham, good lad, but I just felt that I was way too experienced for him.
And then the technical decision lost to Jamie Hughes, mate. Was that a head clash or something, or?
Weird one.
Yeah.
Very weird one.
I wanted to ask.
Weird one, that. I remember in Sheffield as well, on a Dave Caldwell show. And yeah, gone out, nip and tuck again, first few rounds. But again, with my style, it took me, and this is what I learned about myself as a boxer, it took me a few rounds to get going. It took me, 4 or 5 rounds to get into the fight. And, I felt that they were my best rounds in the second half of the fight, because that's when I used to find my rhythm, my momentum, sort of learn about my opponent, what he was doing, what he was good at, what he wasn't so good at. So it took me a few rounds to work him out. But again, I think as I started to work him out, I've gone out and I remember throwing a big right hand, spinning off, throwing another shot, and I bust his eyes open and blood's just gushing out of his eyebrows. And I thought, I've got him now. He's in trouble, because I'm still fresh. I'm still moving. Like, he's not going to be able to do nothing, especially if his eyes are gashed. He was having a bit of success. He was coming forward. He was game. I'll give him that. Tough nut from Doncaster, I think he was. And but once I saw the cuts on his eyes, I thought, he's in trouble. Anyway, the ref said, go to the neutral corner. came over and something sort of I just felt something weird was going on. Anyway, the ref says, "Oh yeah, I'm stopping it on a head clash." I was like, "Head clash?" I said, "It was a shot. It was a shot." And he said, "No. Head clash, go to the corner, I'm going to do the scorecards." And then he got the win for some reason. But yeah, it's a shame.
That must have been a bit of pill to swallow, that, mate.
It was, because it was like, I think they should have let the fight go on, and they should have seen what happened in regards to, how is it going to pan out? Because it was a good fight. Everyone was enjoying it. It was a buzz because he was trying to nail me and I'm moving around, and, every so often he might tag me and the crowd would go mad, his fans. And then when I was getting the edge of him, our fans would go mad. So yeah, it was tit for tat. But yeah, bit gutting, but it's boxing, isn't it?
It is, mate. It happens, and I just wanted to mention that one, obviously. And then you had your big chance, mate, as I call it, because I love the Central Area title. I mentioned it plenty of times. We lost on points to Matty Clarkson, mate. How did that fight? How did you end up getting that fight? How did that come for Central Area then?
So that was for the Maxi Nutrition tournament.
Right.
Maxi Nutrition tournament, knockout tournament. I don't know if you...
No, I don't think I do, no.
So Mick Hennessy ran a tournament. So he was having, was it 8 fighters? Mm-hmm. And then for a prize of I think it was 60, 70 grand winner. You got the sort of trophy at the end as well, and a contract for another 6-fight deal. So there was a bunch of us in that. Bob Adjasafe was in it. Danny McIntosh was in that. Travis Dickinson was in that.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was matched up with Matty Clarkson first. I think Danny Mac was matched up with Travis Dickinson, and then Bob was matched up with, you'll know him, Dean Francis.
Yeah. And
he beat Dean Francis. That was Dean Francis' last fight. God bless him. I know he's
God
passed.
bless him, yeah.
But that came about because we just got matched to fight each other, and yeah, he edged it, and he got the win. He was in trouble in the 8th, 9th and 10th rounds. Again, I dragged the fight out towards the end, and he was under, again, God bless him, Oliver Harrison.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, from Manchester.
Yeah.
So I knew they were good lads. They were game. Matty Clarkson, he was a good boxer, actually. He knew what he was doing. He could box a little bit, and and he was a nice lad as well. And we had a bit of a sting in the build-up. We were back and forth a little bit, and but in a good way, just to build the fight. And we were excited about the opportunity more so than not. And he got the win.
Before we move on to your last fight, did you think you could have won that tournament when it opened? Were you confident you could have done it?
Yeah.
Because there was some we just told me there's some cracking names in there, mate.
Absolutely. And Bob, I actually boxed Bob in the amateurs, and Bob was at my gym at the time. We was at the same stable. So if I ended up, and I've sparred Bob quite a lot, so I knew that if I ended up meeting a course with Bob in the final, I had every chance of beating Bob, just because I knew him and I knew what he was good at, and he knew me though. So I think it was 50-50. But yeah, some good names in there, and I think Matty Clarkson went on to box Travis Dickinson, which he got awarded the fight of the year for that.
Right.
I don't know whether you saw that fight, him and Travis, but yeah, it was a very, very good fight. Good fight.
Well, won it in the end, that tournament, do you remember?
It was Bob.
Bob himself.
Bob won it.
Yeah, no mug body with Bob.
No, good fight.
Yeah, really good guy.
Good fight.
So yeah, top fight that, mate, like you said. But your final fight here, we're going to go out with a win, mate, aren't we? Can be your final fight. Well, come on, you mention him.
Is it Farika?
Get rest, mate. Yeah. Yes.
You're bringing back so many memories. Just talking. It's the first time.
That is what we're here for, mate.
It's the first time I've gone through every fight, and it's just I'm sat here and I'm sort of getting a nostalgic feeling, thinking, "Wow, what an amazing time I had! What an amazing time!"
And that's what it's all about, mate.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. So come on, we got the final fight, a good win against Colin.
Yeah.
How did that come about then? Where Warwick, you remember?
Liverpool.
Yeah.
Olympia Stadium. Old stadium. I think did the Beatles used to play there?
Yeah.
They did. Olympia Stadium in Liverpool. So yeah, a little bit nostalgic again. But it was kind of sad because I didn't know that was my last fight. I was just getting into the game, I think. Just growing into myself, and got the win. He hit me with a couple of good right hands, I think. In the third round, I remember stood in front of him and he just let go a right hand. Nailed me on the chin. I thought, this kid can bang quite a bit. Yeah, had a bit of a dig behind him, but I think he'd only had about 3 fights. So that was my sort of, 17th fight?
17th fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, way too experienced for him. I just felt like he was out of his depth in the fact that they'd matched him up with me, who'd had 17 fights, and he's had 3 fights. I'm like, of course he's probably not going to beat me because I'm way too experienced for him, especially the experience that I had. And I think when I'd boxed Kenny Anderson, it did give me another surge of confidence in the fact that I've been in there with Kenny Anderson, who's beat Robin Reed, an ex-world champion.
He had George Grove on his arse, didn't he, to be quite honest?
Yeah. George Groves was in trouble.
Massive.
And I thought I was doing a number on him for them few rounds until I got caught, unfortunately. So I thought I could mix it with pretty much anyone. I sparred these guys in the gym, and I was just starting to grow into myself, and I learned a lot about myself. And and then after that fight, that was my last fight, unfortunately.
So why was it your last fight? That's why I wanted to finish with, mate, actually. Why was it your last fight?
Weird one. Finished that, and then I was sparring one day, actually, and I ended up going over on my knee and tore my cartilage in my knee, and it was a nasty tear, and I had to get it operated on. And I just, once I'd had the operation, it took ages to heal because I was that eager to get back into it. I didn't want to sit around, and I was trying to train on it, and the specialist was saying, "Don't train on it yet. You're not ready." And I was so eager to get back in, and I was just so like, at the time I didn't know how to deal with an injury because I'd never been injured before. That was the first injury I'd had, and it was a freak injury, to be honest. It kept swelling, and it wasn't the same. And I felt that a little bit when I was training again. As soon as like it healed down the line, I felt that I couldn't spring off as quick, and it just affected my confidence a little bit. I think I was always thinking it was going to go again, and it just really played on my mind a lot. And I just felt I got took out of the momentum a little bit with it and everything. And then another thing on top of that was, Brendan wasn't too well around that time that I was trying to get back into it, and I just never got the momentum back that I had in that regard. So I just felt that in order to be on your best in this game, I'm not an idiot. I know you have to be on your best game, because it's not a game where you can go in 60%, 70%. It's not like football where, if you're a bit tired or you can stay on the sideline, you're in against someone who can fight.
Who can hurt you.
Yeah. So you don't want to be in against someone like Kenny Anderson at 60%, do you?
It's like they always said, mate, you don't play boxing, do you?
Absolutely not. And I know the severity of boxing, and as you've probably come across, you hear stories where people have died in the ring. There's been a couple lads in Sheffield who unfortunately were damaged, and you look at that and you just think, and I sit here now on the sideline and I look back at my career and I'm like, wow, amazing days, best days of my life. Yeah, glad I'd done it. And as crazy as it sounds, I know this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but I felt like I was a world champion, because in my own head, I knew I was world level, and I knew it was in there, and I knew it was only a matter of time before that would eventually materialise, because I was willing. And not because, I'm not saying I was the most skillful fighter, but it was just because of my courage. And I think my record expresses my courage to get in there with the fighters, because I wasn't scared to fight anyone. I would fight anyone. And that was part of me. It's just the way I was. So I think that on that note, do I have the same amount of courage as a world champion? Absolutely. Would I have ever quit in the ring? No, absolutely not. Did I ever quit? Did I ever bottle it and get out? No, I didn't. I stuck in there. So I'm proud of that, and I'm fulfilled. And that fulfills me, knowing that it wasn't something I quit. It was just unfortunate I had an injury, but I'm very fulfilled in the fact that I lived out my childhood dream to that extent under Brendan Ingle, which was phenomenal. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I hope you enjoy going through your record, mate, because I really have.
Oh, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Much, mate. Thank you for having me. I feel, privileged to come down. I think, again, I just want to give a shout out to everybody listening that I think what you guys are doing is absolutely fantastic, and I've had a great time actually talking through my boxing and my record. It's the first time I've ever done it, so yeah.
Well, we'll have to meet up next time for a drink, mate.
Yeah,
for sure,
definitely.
Let's do it. Have a coffee and for sure.
Let's do it, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
The Journeyman Cave is produced by James Proud. Music by Ryan Carrier. Special thanks to Rhythm Inc. Studios for hosting. All views expressed are of the guests only. The Journeyman Cave and host bear no responsibility for any opinions given. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter @The Journeyman Cave.